I cannot begin to tell you how much fun I've had over the years with Pandora'S Box. There's so many great things about it. First, of course, you already carry a card case with you. Odds are, if you're a magician and you do card tricks, you got a card case already on you. So if you can take the card case and gimmick it in such a way that it still looks legit, that you can still show it very fairly and still handle it fairly, and it'll still carry a full deck of cards, but now you are able to make it look and sound like small items, a coin, a borrowed ring, whatever, vanish from your hand and appear in the case even while it's resting on someone's case. Well, that's just great magic. I mean, that's just a commercial, practical, convenient kind of way to amaze people for sure. I'm going to show you how to put the gimmick in the case, how to prepare your case. Going to show you the simple, basic way to make items vanish and appear inside the case. And then I'm going to show you the transposition that I use all the time. Something I really, really enjoy. Yeah, there's just a lot. And one of the things I want to mention right now, and I'll mention it again in a moment when we jump in here, is I want you to really be aware of how it flows. There's an inherent misdirection inside the naturalness of the way this whole thing flows, from the vanish to the appearance. And that's, I would say, 50% of why this is so powerful and so effective. It should be said right at the top here that this idea that I played with and is built directly on the thinking of Roy Walton. Roy Walton had an idea like this, very similar, a different kind of gimmick, but the idea was how can you gimmick a case so it has an inherent rattling quality. So again, my thinking has been very much inspired by Roy Walton's. I want to, of course, say that right here on the tape. And I don't think it's an improvement, but his thinking was sort of back in that day, and this is a different day, and this gimmick's a lot easier to handle. I was thrilled when I came up with a way to gimmick the case that was going to be so easy for you to do. I thought that was really cool. So let's jump right in. Without further ado, let's jump right in and take a look at what we're talking about here, okay? So, for starters, you're going to take your card case and probably with a packing knife, an X-Acto knife, or unless you have very sharp beaver-like teeth, we're going to cut a hole in the case. And here it is. It's not quite, notice that I'm not going quite over the halfway mark. It's, I guess, darn close though. Okay, you can make it a little bit smaller. The smaller it is, the more you'll be able to flash the case. I mean, I have tiny hands, so if with my little fingers I'm comfortable doing this, I think you should be too. And, you know, again, you can handle it very freely, very naturally. Notice the way, too, rather than saying, hey, here's a card case, it looks ordinary, right? Notice that if I bring my other hand in and just sort of say, I'm going to show you something with a card case, this shares the stage for a beat with this other hand, and rather than doing this, doing it simultaneously shares, sort of diffuses general focus. There's a lot to be said for that, okay? So, and you can apply that thinking with a coin vanish, with a whole bunch of things, those hands moving in tandem. So I've cut a hole there, and then what I do is I take this really short length of straw, and you might want to tweak it or whatever, but take a short length of straw, okay? And then what I have here, the perfect size pieces of wire, okay, perfect size piece of wire here. And if I put this piece of wire inside this length of straw, okay, the wire's going inside the straw, then I have this piece of tape here. Now this tape is probably not quite big enough, but I wanted a nice dark tape so you can see. I can then take this, slip this inside. Oh, just spilled out the wire, not so good. Want to make sure that if you can't handle that much, maybe magic's a bit of a reach for you. But this is in here, and I'm going to lie this on its side here, feed this in here like that, okay, like this. Then, using a pencil or an anteater's tongue or something, what I'm going to do now is move this along. Basically, with the tip of the pencil, I'm going to press down on the tape, gently at first, and then getting it smoother and smoother, because I want it to lie. Here we go. I'm going to press here and press here. Now, you know, once you're getting a tape case set up, you're only going to have to do this once for the case. It will then last, I mean, basically for weeks, months, and years, as long as an elephant doesn't sit on your case. Okay, now, with that in place, listen to that. Now, you know, if you want to, you know, I don't know what to tell you. If you're the sort of personality in magic who's going to go, oh, I'm not sure if that sounds as heavy as a ring or a quarter. I can't help you. I mean, I've done this thousands of times, and no one's ever, no one's ever questioned that that's enough of a tapping sound. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I bet you could figure out some way to build a secret panel back here and put a diamond and get even more. But anyway, but this is fine. Sorry, I even opened up that Pandora's box. Thank you. So now I'm in a situation. Now, I talked about earlier about the flow of this and how well this works. Because if you've taken the cards, notice too the psychology on this. There's just so many things that I love about this. If you have a card case, okay, pack of cards, okay, front and back, showing it real cash. If you have a pack of cards, as soon as you take the cards out of the case, the general understanding is that the cards completely fill the case, which of course they did. So there cannot be anything left inside the case, okay? That's basically people's thinking. If there were, it would fall out at this point. So these are subtle points, but I want you to know that all these are adding up to make this such a powerful and convincing piece of magic, okay? So out comes the case. You can do card tricks, whatever you want. When you want to go into this, though, you close up the case and you can rest this right on someone's hand, okay? They will not feel that. They won't against the palm. If you rest it in such a way it's on the fingertip there, that's not so good. But on the palm, they won't feel it. I can rest it down on the table. No notice. Okay. So that I was talking about the flow earlier, because now what I can do is I can take a ring, put it in my hand, do this. Now, first, that's a beautiful, simple, classic vanish I'm using here. But notice, rather than having to do a whole lot, because of course the next thought is, will there be heat on this hand? Well, it's about timing and flow. Because if I'm here and I do this, and then I immediately pick up the case and go, boom, all focus stays there. As opposed to focus wandering to the other hand or starting to theorize, is it up his sleeve? Did he drop in his lap? Is it in the other hand? When you do this and this, the sense is, okay, it's immediately in the case. I mentioned earlier the importance of how this flows, of how the handling, how about basically the effect of the vanish and the reappearance, how it all flows together, okay? So we're in this position right now where we've just done a false transfer, right? Done a false transfer, and you know, I typically use just a finger palm, real casual. It's, you know, it looks so nice. And notice with the finger palm, if you really get it to flow, you don't even have to bring the hands quite together. You can have a little bit of space, and people will swear they see a flash of the silver or of the ring in there, okay? And of course, this is a borrowed ring. You can do it with your own ring. You can do it with a coin. Do it with the cap of the marker. So many different items. Any item that can fit inside here and theoretically rattle around, right? So anyway, this flow is I'm here, I do this, I do that, and then what you don't want to do is do this, show this too quickly and go down. As soon as you go down, there could be this sense that you loaded it in then. On the other hand, you don't want to do this, make it vanish, show your hand empty, and then wait too long because the focus will come back to here. So this is really, I mean, it's such a simple, technically, it's more about working up the ballet. Show your hand, pick this up, and immediately, okay? So just when someone might be thinking, hey, where is the coin? Is it really? It is. They hear it. Now, this, what I'm about to show you, flows best with more than one person, but I still make it work with one person. But if you've got a couple of people, then it's this to the person on the left, and what do I do with the person on the right? I transfer the case over to this hand to shake it into this person too. And of course, while shaking it, what do? I load in, the finger ring literally falls right in, and I give that a shake as well. Now, a couple of provisos, you've got to be careful. You don't want to do this, have a little shake here, transfer, load this in, and then they hear over here something much louder all of a sudden. That can be and you know, that may not give away the actual method, but it makes people suspicious, which is bad enough if you can avoid it, right? So, here, and you want to make sure that after you do the vanish, it's not so much kept in finger palm, but while focus is on the case, if you let the ring sort of either with your thumb or just let it sort of scooch on down a little bit to, this is where you want it. So that when you pick up the case, it doesn't flash, and you can load the case directly on top of the ring, do a little shake there, and now you have some, open up your hand, and then you, of course, spill out their ring. So notice the beats. I think it's very important. It's the reason why psychologically this little ballet of magic is so powerful. So you've got vanish, and you do it right over the case. I mean, it's nice to have the case to your left, okay, rather than center, because now both hands are sharing a centered stage. If this is on someone's hand to your left, which is what I prefer, okay? And let's do a thumb palm. We'll do thumb palm, and then we'll let it sort of fall from thumb palm down to the fingers as well. We can do a thumb palm, right? Like that. Boom, like that. Pick this up to the left. Over here to the right, open up here, say open up your hand, and the flow is, and then they open their hand and you spill it out, okay? And you can again show both sides. It's beautiful, it is perfect. And remember, you took the cards out of the case, so the notion is it's empty, it's an ordinary case, you make it vanish, they hear it, then they see it come out. Now, so that's the basic handling, where you can borrow a ring and do something and then flow into something else with a ring. A coin, a cap of the marker, the mark coin can be as well. Okay, so you got options. Now, as for, I promised I'd also share with you my two ring transpo, and I love this. This flows so well because what you can do, okay, is I can open up the case, take a borrowed ring or my ring, okay, slip it inside the case, okay, close up the case like this, give this little shake here and put it down. Of course, you know exactly what's going on here. The ring went inside the case. To call that fair is an understatement. I mean, obviously the ring, without a doubt, went inside the case. There's no debating that. And of course, it came out right out the bottom into my finger palm automatically, okay? I can show both sides of the case. I can give it a shake and they can hear it inside if I want, okay? But it's inside clearly. Now you borrow a ring, okay, or somebody else's ring. It's nice if it's a contrast. Here, of course, is with a gem. And you can do Bobo, where you apparently throw it in your hand, okay? Give it a squeeze and it changes visibly, magically. I love that, okay? And all I'm doing there is Bobo switch, which is when you apparently throw the item, I'm gonna hold it back between finger and let it fall out of finger and pull it back in, okay? Again, here and here, here and here. Now this is it's a clumsy, it's not elegant, but you have such a large action going on in this toss, okay? Or, if you want to make it a little bit more visual, of course, good old Spellbound, Di Vern's beautiful move, where this is in finger palm, I hold this here. Going to come over here and just sort of rub my fingers. Going to let that fall into the hand, while dropping off the ring at the same time, showing the hand empty, and it looks like it's changed. So, as when I always mention this and teaching this to students, notice that with Spellbound, the left hand is clearly empty, but for the ring. Just kind of give it a little wiggle. Clearly empty in this hand too, but for the ring. So you get to, it's an kitment. You get to show both hands empty at the same time. But so you've done this, you've changed the ring, okay? Now if you're going to do that though, you're going to have to load it back in. I mean, so in this case what you do is you put this down, pick up the case here, and immediately load it in from the left hand, okay? As you give a shake. And if you feel unsure about the load in, you can always turn the hand over and say you can hear it inside. And by turning it over, you guarantee it falls right in. And again, you open that up and spill that out. Real magic. Performance speed. We'll assume we're going to use Bobo here. Okay? First, you don't want too much downtime, so borrow both rings. If you're going to use borrowed rings, don't borrow one, put it away, then borrow the other. Better to borrow both. Open this up, slip it in there, it immediately goes into there. Have someone hold their hand, or if you want to put that down, they can hear it there. Pick up this ring. Say, watch the ring very carefully because I just snap my fingers. Notice when you snap your fingers, it's a nice way to, psychologically, it really suggests the hand is empty, which is great. Snap immediately, it's changed, right? Pick this up, and which means inside, and they can hear it inside. You open the flap like this, and of course inside is the other ring. So whether you're going to use it as a quick moment of magic or the transposition, you know, there's a lot of things to say about it. First, if you stick with a borrowed item rather than, well, I mean, it could be a quarter, like I said. They can correct it. They can look at the date. That way you don't even have to use a marker, okay? It's just borrow a penny, anything you want. You can do the transposition with a penny and a quarter, okay? So the fact that it's borrowed, the fact that it uses something you already carry on you, the fact that it's so, you know, it's very devious, very sneaky. There's a lot of aspects about the handling that show the hand empty, the hand's empty here, empty there. The case must be empty because the cards came out. For all these reasons and a lot more, I think, you know, make up one of these. I think you're going to find you come up with other ideas for it. Yeah, I mean, there's not really much more I can tell you about that except I've used it a bunch of times over the years. Very powerful effect.